Attention, attention. Hello, and welcome to the League of Women Voters of Dearborn Heights. This is our forum for the August 6th primary election. This is the forum for candidates running to fill 3 seats on the Dearborn Heights City Council. My name is Mary Jo Duravage, and I am the president of the local league. This program is presented and produced as a public service by the League of Women Voters. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan, national organization that encourages the informed and active participation of citizens in government. The League never supports or opposes candidates in political parties. Membership is open to all men and women age 16 years or older. Next month's ballot represents the first step in selecting the next 3 city council members for the city of Dearborn Heights. For written information about the candidates, go to the League's online voter guide at vote411.org or download a printable copy of the League's voter guide from our website, www.LWVDDH.org. The League of Women Voters would like to thank Carolyn Kennedy Library and Visual Ronin Media for making this important public service event possible. Tonight's programs will soon be available on our website. The League of Women Voters wants every eligible voter to inform themselves and to vote on August 6th. Contact the city clerk's office for an absentee ballot if preferred. And if you aren't sure whether or not you are registered to vote, you can check with the city clerk's office, or you can go to the Secretary of State's website at michigan.gov/SOS. Now I'm delighted to introduce our moderator for tonight, Ms. Lorelei Muniz, a Dearborn resident and member of the local league.
Today is Thursday, July 18th, and we are taping this program at Caroline Kennedy Library in Dearborn Heights. As always, the League of Women Voters is not responsible for the views expressed by the candidates. Members of the audience, we request that you please turn off or mute your cell phones. Although we understand that you may wish to live stream video via your personal devices, we ask that you refrain from disrupting the sight lines of other attendees and from other disruptive behavior. We also request that you maintain silence as an oasis of neutrality, and that you hold your applause throughout the forum until the moderator has announced that the forum has ended. The candidates have agreed to the following. The first candidate to speak has been determined by drawing lots. Thereafter, the order of responses will be rotated. Each candidate will have 1 minute to make an opening statement and 1 minute to answer each question. We will end with each candidate having 2 minutes to make a final statement. The timekeeper is a league member and will raise a card to say stop to notify the candidate as their time expires. The questions include both those developed by the league and those solicited from the community prior to the forum. All questions have been screened to prevent duplication and personal attacks and to ensure that questions address all the candidates. Time does not allow for all the questions to be asked, and we encourage you to contact the candidates directly if your question is not answered. Contact information is available online at vote411.org. 9 candidates' names will be on the ballot to fill 3 positions for a 4-year term of the Dearborn Heights City Council. You may vote for up to 3 candidates. Their names in alphabetical order are Dave Abdallah, Ned Apigian, Jamal Bazzi, Larry Henney, Stephen Henry, Lisa Hicks Clayton, Nadine Jones, Ray Muscat, and Rose Trepepi. The candidates have been asked to make a 1-minute opening statement. Jamal Bazzi is not in attendance. I will read his opening statement following the candidates who are present. We will begin with candidate Lisa Hicks Clayton.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I want to thank the League of Women Voters and everyone in attendance this evening for joining us. My name is Lisa Hicks Clayton. I am currently one of the incumbents. This would be my 3rd term that I'm running for. I bring 30 years of experience as a community servant, public servant in liaison advocacy. I'm a mother of 3. I have my son who's a firefighter with E-Course, my daughter who's a teacher, and then my youngest goes to Crestwood High School, public school. My education is a political science degree, and again, I went into teaching, and I did that for 21 years. As a city council member, I've worked very hard to continue my education. Through the Michigan Municipal League, I've received the award levels through the Elected Officials Academy. Award level 1 is education, level 2 is leadership, and level 3 is governance. With that, I am very active in the community. Several boards, including Salvation Army Advisory Council. I'm the president of that council. The Gulfview Manor Civic Association, I was president for 10 years. I write neighborhood watch programs. Thank you.
Now, candidate Nadine Jones.
Hey, good evening. Again, my name is Nadine Jones. Thanks for having me here today. I have been a flight attendant for 16 years, and I'm also a student at University of Michigan, Dearborn. I'm currently working on my master's in public administration and public policy. I served 2 terms with the AmeriCorps, serving veterans, and I started my own nonprofit 3 years ago, Love a Michigan Vet Project. So I truly have a gift of serving, and I have a heart to serve, and I want to be able to assist our community on a greater scale, and that's why I'm running today. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you for being here, and thank you for the League of Women Voters for the invitation. My name is Ray Muscat. I've been a resident of Dearborn Heights for over 50 years, and I wear my pride on my sleeve when it comes to the city. Anyone who knows me has seen my passion. I'm married to my wife, Lisa. We have 3 children and 5 grandchildren. And I am a retired Ford skilled tradesman of well over 42 years, and currently a council member serving my 1st term. I've attended city council meetings 10, 12, 13 years. I kind of lose track of all the council meetings and the study sessions I've attended. And my will is to serve the public and only the public. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Rose Trepepi.
I thank the League of Women Voters and having me here today. I have lived in the city since January of '72. I've raised 2 adult children. One is working at Schoolcraft. He's the head of admissions. My daughter's a special ed teacher in Flat Rock. They went through District 7 and did very well. I am retired from UAW Ford. I had 34 years there. I continued working with the UAW after retirement in the political action part of it. Actively, I'm a volunteer at the Senior Center. I drive the senior bus a couple times a month. And I'm on the TIFA board and on the American Legion.
Thank you. Let's get the mic back down here. Next, we have candidate Dave Abdallah.
Good evening. My name is Dave Abdallah. I'm currently a council member, finishing out my 1st term in the city council. Been there for 4 years now, and it is my honor to serve again. Definitely looking to serve again. I've been a resident of the city of Dearborn Heights for 20 years. I've been a real estate agent in the area for 31 years. I've been very politically active for probably the last 25 years or so, serving as a commissioner in the state of Michigan and on the city council, plus many boards of directors. I was also a board of realtor president for the local realtors, graduate from the University of Michigan Dearborn with a degree in finance and marketing. The agenda for me on the next council run is I'm trying to save as much taxes as possible for our residents. I'm going to be working on public safety, of course, for our residents, and work on improving the schools and the parks, and look forward to serving this country and this great city. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is candidate Ned Apigian.
Thank you, Lorelei. First of all, I would like to thank the League of Women Voters for the opportunity to meet the voters of Dearborn Heights. The purpose of this program is to evaluate the relevant background, education, and experience of the 9 of us to determine which 3 would be the most useful to the council in the city. My contention is that my unique background as a design and physical planning professional is the most useful, as I am licensed by the state of Michigan in 3 separate disciplines: as an architect, a professional community planner, and a residential builder. Last but not least, I also served 2 terms on the council, 1 partial term and 1 full term. I know what the council does, what it can do, what it can't do, and what it should do. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is candidate Larry Henney.
Hello, my name is Larry Henney. Thank you for inviting me to the forum. I never intended on running for public office, but I feel intervention is necessary. I'm 74 years young, so I'm not interested in climbing the political ladder. I'm only interested in making my city better. As a self-employed realtor for 31 years, I have brought buyers and sellers together, successfully resolving disputes and getting things done. When the housing crash came, I was instrumental in working with several municipalities in their neighborhood stabilization programs. I helped increase owner-occupied home ownership in those cities. I'm embarrassed by watching the city council meetings. Reminds me of children bickering over toys. I have a life experience of working with people to get things done. I'm only interested in making my city better. That's why I'm running for city council.
Thank you. Next is candidate Stephen Henry.
Thank you. I want to thank the League of Women Voters for inviting us out here tonight to express our views. I have been employed. I own a printing company, Leader Printing and Mailing, for 38 years in Dearborn Heights. I'm also a 25-year resident. My 4 children have been raised here, gone to school here. I'm a member of the American Legion Stit Post for 35 years. I'm also a member of the Dearborn Area Chamber of Commerce for about 38 years. I have worked at Crestwood as a coach for about 15 years. So I have some experience with working in and around people and making teamwork express itself to its fullest ability. I just want to get the city back to working together so that we can make it a better place to work, live, and play.
Thank you. In Jamal Bazzi's absence, I will read his opening statement. I would like to thank President Mary Jo DeRivage and the entire League of Women Voters for preparing a platform that encourages the informed and active participation of our citizens in the political process. It's an honor to be in the room with people who share the same goals. It's also with a heavy heart that I ask for your understanding and compassion as to my unattendance. You see, I believe beside every great man is an even greater woman, and my greater woman, my wife, is just coming home from surgery, and I would like to attend to her needs and the kids. I am confident you understand my position and that I'm extremely honored by your invitation. I hope one day both my wife and I would be able to attend a League of Women Voters event side by side. With warmest regards, Jamal Bazzi. Now we will begin with questions. All candidates will be given 1 minute to answer each question. First question. And we will begin with candidate Nadine Jones. How do you plan to reach out and learn the residents' concerns in order to act as their voice in city government?
Well, for me, I'm pretty open. I said I have my own nonprofit, so I'm always available, and I'm always in the community. I'm active, so if anybody ever wants to call me, email me, if you want to meet for coffee. I said I graduate in December, and I'll have plenty of time. So currently, I'm only working 8 days a month at the airlines. So being a city council member, I said I want to be here, I want to be available to you all, and then I hope to work alongside the rest of everyone else. And just like the gentleman down there said, I want to see something different within the council. I want everyone to get together, to work together, because it's very important to be able to work together, to be able to serve you all better.
Thank you. Next is candidate Ray Muscat.
I've made myself available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I'm willing to bet that 7/8 or 15/16 of the population of this city has my phone number on speed dial. I think my wife can attest to that. So I'm available anytime, any place, for anything. I don't care if it's for coffee, come to my house, I go to your house. I've been visiting people when they call. I don't turn anyone away for anything. It's my job to represent you, not you represent me.
Thank you. Now, candidate Rose Trepepi.
I would love to get out and have the people contact me or get out in the street and see what they need. I did want to go, and I have started on some of this, going to the directors of the different departments and asking, what do you expect out of a city council person? What do you expect if I get elected for me to do to make it easier for you? And that way it'll trickle down into the residents and to the people that work in the city.
Next is candidate Dave Abdallah.
Well, for me, I do the same thing as I do in my real estate business with Century 21. I'm always available to all my clients at any time, just about, to be able to get a hold of me, whether it's through email, phone, or office visits. And it's the same thing for the residents, because I'm really concerned about what the residents think in terms of different things are, for their needs. So at any time, someone can email me, can phone me, or my personal favorite, I like to sit down one-on-one with a person and be able to discuss their particular situation, and more than happy to go ahead and resolve it for them. In addition to that, I'm very, very active in the local Dearborn Heights community with a lot of different organizations. So at a lot of those events, including the League of Women Voters, I'm able to run into different residents and talk to them about their concerns and work on it to try to get their situations resolved. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is candidate Ned Apigian.
Would you repeat the question?
Sure,
please?
absolutely. How do you plan to reach out and learn the residents' concerns in order to act as their voice in city government?
Well, if I become a councilman again, I'm sure they're going to find out who I am, where I am, and my telephone number and my place of residence. The idea that I would be reaching out, as the question indicates, who would I call? Which person? Which neighbor? I'm sure I'll be contacted by those who are interested in contacting me. The idea that I would be just reaching out to people is not sensible to me. I was on the council before. People knew who I was, and they had an issue, they would call me. And I've never turned anybody away. Always went to visit to see what their problem was. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Candidate Larry Henney.
Well, I take a different approach, Ned. Excuse me, I'm not supposed to be doing that. As far as reaching out, I have been going door to door, talking with the residents, and asking them what their concerns are. And I think that that's the important part. We need to listen just as much as we speak. We can't assume that people feel one way or the other. It isn't what my opinion is, it's what your opinion is, and that's where we have to start. So I am going door to door, I am reaching out to folks, but I'm also giving them my phone number, my email address. You can reach me at any time. I am a realtor as well, and I operate my business the same way I operate, I'll operate this. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is candidate Stephen Henry.
Well, we do have a website, a Facebook page, so we're available there. I've been in this community as a business owner for a long enough time that I see people each and every day. They come in, they make copies, they order printing. I have a good relationship down at the Post with the members there, so I can speak with them. I'm open with my neighbors. I do plan on going out door to door, meeting people, although I think that's a somewhat ineffective way to get to know somebody. It's not always that they're willing, ready, and able to talk when you show up at their door, and I think it's a little bit invasive What we are going to do is on the north end, on July 28th, we have got a space reserved in the park. We'll have more details. Lynn Killian is my campaign manager, and she's going to make it available. We're going to invite families to bring their children and sit down and talk about the issues that they have on their mind. And we're going to do it again on August 4th in the south end. So hopefully we can get a good turnout, and we can, thank you.
Thank you. Next is candidate Lisa Hicks Clayton.
Thank you. So what we're talking about is civic engagement, the importance of that. And I will tell you, I'll do the same thing I've been doing for 8 years as your city council member. And that's offering constituent office hours, office days, constituent service days. That includes going out and talking to our residents, hearing what's important to you. Fight Blight, we do Blight drive-arounds. I'm available on social media. I'm available, everyone pretty much knows my number and information, and I'm available 24/7. That's pretty much a true statement. I've had calls come in as late as 11 p.m. on a Sunday night. I will take your call because I work for you, and I take it very seriously. I do home visits as well. We get together. We have my policy for you is a 24-hour return call policy. So if you call me, you're going to get a call back that day before sundown. You're going to hear from me, and we're going to find out what you need and how to work together. I'm out in the community every single day. Every single day. I'm in the senior centers. I'm going to neighborhood meetings. I'm out there rolling up my sleeves and cleaning leaves and other things for you.
Thank you. So the next question will begin with candidate Ray Muscat, and it is, how will you ensure that residents in both North and South Dearborn Heights feel that they are fairly and adequately represented?
That is a question that's been plaguing this city for as long as I can remember. North End, South End. As far as I'm concerned, it's one city. And to assure people that they will be treated equally is not just a council person's job, it's the entire city administration's position. Now, I can't control what other people do. All I know is I listen to the residents' wants, and I listen to them very carefully. And I do what the residents want me to do. That's not just for the South End, that's for the North End, East Side, West Side. It doesn't matter. We're all one city, and I even belong to a group of people that live predominantly in the South End, and I'm a North End. That's where I live. But I have lived in the South End, and I feel their pain, and I'm only going to try to do the best that I can, and that's the only promise I can give anyone is the best I can.
Thank you. Next is candidate Rose Trepepi.
I don't believe it's the South End or the North End. It's the south side, the north side, but we're not an end. We are a beginning. And sometimes the people in the south end feel like they have been neglected or abused. That's where I'm from. I've been there for 47 years. I don't feel neglected or abused because I believe my area is better than anybody else's. We can stand up to anyone. We can hold our own. Trying to get everybody to realize that is another story now. But I would try my best to make everybody feel that they are equal and they are the same, and get rid of the ends, because we're not ends. We're in the middle and the beginning.
Candidate Dave Abdullah.
Well, for me, we live in one city. So the best way to be able to figure out how I feel about stuff like this is to watch my votes on the city council. And you'll notice that on the city council, whenever a subject came in front of us, I never had, because to me, there's just one city. I live in the city of Dearborn Heights, and as a realtor, I know it's one city. So I never voted or ever thought about, or even slightly thought about voting in terms of whether it's North or South Heights. To me, it's one city. We should be together. We should all work on the betterment of the city as a whole instead of one side or the other. And again, the best thing for me is to just look at my history on the city council, and you'll see I just don't vote. I don't have any type of bias to one side or the other. Thank you.
Candidate Ned Epichian.
Interestingly enough, before I got into politics, and I didn't know there was a North and South End. Never occurred to me. I didn't understand it. Didn't make it makes no difference to me today. I have no idea about it, but I created a design for the 50th anniversary of the city. 2 interlocking gears, one bigger than the other, interlocked and meshed, that turn another gear. I was going to bring it with me to the South End meeting, and that's how I view the place, all working together. The 3 gears mesh, and they turn the city. I never had any other idea about it other than that. Thank you.
Candidate Larry Henny.
Okay, well, it's a funny thing because I've talked to people in the north end and I've talked to people in the south end. And in both cases, they don't feel that the city is working for them. And it all boils down to the council and the mayor, the continual fighting between the two. It needs to stop. And we can only change that if we change the decor or the method of operation in our city. So we need to bring in new, fresh blood in order to get things done. And things aren't getting done. And I'm sure that once we start the wheel of progress again, then both the north end and the south end will feel a lot more comfortable.
Candidate Stephen Henry.
So I think it's obvious that most of the candidates up here are looking at the city of Dearborn Heights as just that, the city of Dearborn Heights, not a north end, not a south end. We're not unique as a community to be divided. Dearborn has an East Dearborn and a West Dearborn, but that never really comes up to a great extent. So we need, if we want to make this a great place to live, work, and raise our children, we need to realize that we're all in this together. We are the city of Dearborn Heights. We need to act as one community and work for our better good of all of us.
Candidate Lisa Hicks Clayton.
Okay. I think we can all agree that we want to work for the community, to build the community and be one community. However, I'm going to address the elephant in the room that there is a perception. I spend a lot of time on the South End. I'm in the schools there trying to be supportive, attending meetings there, investing my time equally throughout the city. And we're elected at large, which means we work for everyone. However, there is still a perception, and that needs to be fairly addressed. And the way you do that is by offering your services equally across the community, to one community. You're available to the entire community. If there's a problem on the South End, you address it with equal respect and time and consideration to get it resolved, just like with Swapka Park and some of the senior center issues there, to address those with full time and consideration, because they are just as important no matter where you are. I treat all the same, with same respect and same time working for you. So again, that perception is still there, and perception is reality for folks.
Candidate Nadine Jones.
Well, actually, I didn't realize that it was so divided. When I was talking to residents, they refer to North and South End. For me, I'm running for the City Council in Dearborn Heights. Dearborn Heights as a whole. And I said, I view the city as a whole. If there's some indifferent residents that feel that they're getting neglected or their needs are not being met, I want to speak with those people, find out why they feel there's a difference, and fix that. So basically just focus on who needs what and what end of the city.
Thank you. So our third question will begin with candidate Rose Trepepi, and it is, what city services do you support for residents affected by flooding?
What city services?
Do you support for residents affected by flooding?
Well, I believe there's a lot of problems there. We're not going to stop flooding. We do have the Army Corps of Engineers that have a couple solutions. We will probably be granted $2.8 million to solve some of those problems. I worked with the flood victims for 4 days right after that happened, and it was horrifying. To actually help them, tearing down those houses and all that, I don't believe is going to help them. I don't know, it needs a lot of studying and a lot of investigating, but those people need a lot of help. And a lot of stuff that's going on that the city wants to spend money on, they need to spend it on that, the flood victims, and not all this petty arbitration stuff.
Candidate Dave Abdallah.
Well, to me, I've always been in favor of any type of services that we can provide as a city to try to help the residents in solving this particular issue. At the same time, we have to be all realistic. I mean, I could tell you guys the politically correct thing or what some politicians will tell you, but the reality is this is much bigger than our city. I mean, the Army Corps of Engineers have had all kinds of estimates as far as what it would take to be able to solve this particular issue. And the amount of money that needs to be spent on that has been anywhere between $260 million all the way up to $430 million. With a budget of $50 million in the city of Dearborn Heights, we don't have the funding to be able to personally solve it. But at the same time, it is our job, as a lot of current council people have already started to work on it, myself included, dealing at the federal level and at the state level, because that's who has to come in with the money to be able to solve this issue. Some of these homes that are built in those areas should probably have never been built there in the first place. It just was not the right area to build in. Thank you.
Candidate Ned Apigian.
The question is, what city services would we support to help the people in the South End? I don't want to repeat what Dave said, which is absolutely true. Every service, everything that the city has in its $50 million budget, whatever resource we have to use. But it's not enough. It's a problem that's insolvable because much of the development in the South End shouldn't have been developed in the first place. But there is the federal government, of which the numbers Dave mentioned. This is not a new story. It's been around for years. We can't pay for it, and that's not going to fix the entire problem. The watershed is what the watershed is.
Thank you. Candidate Larry Henney.
We need to take the recommendations of the Army Corps of Engineers. From the council platform, obviously the council, being a councilman, does not makes it very difficult to try to fix this problem. But I will be your advocate to the county, state, and federal government to finally get this thing fixed. If we can put a man on the moon, we can get this thing fixed. It just takes the will. Just takes the will of the people. And again, we need to get the federal, state, and county involved. And in order to do that, we need to get somebody that's the squeaky wheel. I'll be your squeaky wheel.
Candidate Stephen Henry.
Well, obviously, it's a bigger problem than just Dearborn Heights. It's a regional problem, specifically with the last flood that we experienced. I think that regarding city services, I thought the city did a pretty good job of getting down there and providing whatever assistance they could muster up with any of the resources that they had. I think they were down there for 4 and 5 days around the clock, just trying to do whatever they could to help the citizens that were in distress. It's a bad situation, but we're just going to have to work along with it, keep after the regional government to do something about it, and try to be prepared for the next event.
Candidate Lisa Hicks Clayton.
Okay, so the question was city services support for residents affected by flooding. Well, that support is exactly what Mr. Henry just said. That was the trash pickup, mobilizing volunteers, street cleaning, bringing in FEMA, Red Cross, Salvation Army. We delivered food to families, clothing, furniture, whatever we could do. But what I want to tell you on a bigger picture is that as a city council member, the one power we do have is to lobby for you, to lobby for our community. And I have not stopped since 2014, by the way. In fact, on June 14th, we had a meeting with the Army Corps of Engineers, as well as our 2 congresswomen, and we worked out and ironed out the timeline for federal funding. In fact, I have a groundbreaking year for breaking ground to start that project. That's what your city council members should be doing for you. Working every day, making the calls, lobbying, going to DC, have your representatives on the phone. How do we get this done? We know what it costs. We know what needs to be done and how to do it. You build partnerships and get it done.
Candidate Nadine Jones.
Well, I myself was affected for the flood, so this is a pretty big important issue for me as well. I just feel that there needs to be better revisions in place, and that we have to basically finalize the flood zones of the creek. And the biggest what was the organization that we should reach out to? I think it's the federal government. We just need to get out there, like Lisa said, ensure our voices are heard, and just be sure that they come in here, get our professionals out here to look into the draining system and find out why there's so many blockages and why we have the flooding problems.
Candidate Ray Muscat.
Folks, I was a machine repairman for, I don't even want to date myself. And my job was to fix problems. Some problems just not fixable by one person. This is way too big for a city to handle. The Army Corps of Engineers are our best chance. We have no say in when the Army Corps of Engineers is going to come in or if they even will come in. But we do have a consent agreement with Wayne County that's not been enforced for years. And I'm horrified at the fact that this has been held back for so many years. And I just don't understand the mentality. I too suffered water damage in our house. We spent an ungodly sum of money last year fixing our basement from a previous flood. So I feel the pain. But the Army Corps of Engineers is the only way we're going to get by, and we need to put the pressure on our senators, our congressmen, our state reps.
The next question is for candidate Dave Abdallah, and it is, how do you plan to ensure the continued delivery of city services such as street plowing and maintenance and waste management to meet the needs of residents?
Okay, excellent question. So again, I'll go back to the same thing I answered earlier with a different question. You know, the best way in our particular case, in my particular case, being an incumbent, is to look at my votes. I've consistently voted in terms of, or in favor of, public services. Specifically, we went to a new garbage collecting company, and I think overall they're doing a pretty good job. There has been some drops, but anytime we've called them, or at least I've called them for a particular service for a resident, they've been on it and have given us great customer service there. As far as the sweeping of the streets, we've just purchased 2 new sweepers, and according to the DPW director, they're starting to put them out there more. I've also talked to them because some residents had some concerns where they're not seeing the actual sweepers. So I've spoken with the DPW director where we might be possibly putting it on the website, what days they'll be out to what particular streets, so this way residents can see it, and I'll always be in favor of better services for the residents. Thank you.
Candidate Ned Apigian.
Who's not in favor of the best services money can buy that your $50 million budget can afford? Obviously, every service that is available, we want to utilize that it's 100% maximum. If you look at the city budget, do you realize 3/4 of the budget has to do with wages and benefits and pensions? It's only about 25% less for everything else. And that's the last time I looked. It could be worse now. So the idea that we sitting on the council have some sort of control over every issue, whether we're going to do it or not do it, it's automatic. You do it. It has to be done. Thank you.
Candidate Larry Henney.
My wife and I adopted this city in 2010. Thank you. And we were surprised because we were in the middle of a recession, and the city services were pretty good. I think the only thing that changed was the fact that they closed on Fridays instead of being open 5 days. Other than that, the city services seemed to continue on, even though we were in a recession. It is very important to have good city services. But in the same token, I have talked to people on the south end of the city who have complained to me about not ever seeing a street sweeper, that they've never had one come down their street. About 2 weeks ago, after we had a heavy rain, there was mud on the sidewalks and on the street. Thank you.
Candidate Stephen Henry.
I think the city services that we are experiencing now, I think they're pretty good. I think that if we want to attract new families into this city, along with city services, we need to have strong schools. Okay, we need to have community schools that work together. If a young family is looking at property, I think those are the two things they look at, the city services and the schools. And if we can maintain and keep up with technology, I think as time goes on, city services, with regard to what goes on in City Hall, it's going to be a little easier to access some of the forms, some of the reports, some of the fines or fees that we have to pay or interact with City Hall are going to be more commonly available on the internet. So we need to keep up with the technology. We need to keep building and replacing some of our city services, some of our vehicles, and some of our resources and assets.
Candidate Lisa Hicks Clayton.
Thank you. I want to say how critical it is to offer better services, and this is critical to our community for economic prosperity. As you said, Mr. Henry, whether it's attracting new families or keeping families, that works hand in hand with better schools and recreation opportunities for families. But the question was public services. So with that, I've always fully supported our funding. Funding is really what your city council does. We can control funding. That, like Councilman Abdullah had said, you know, we just recently purchased equipment. Our equipment is getting old, quite older, and there's a need for investment. And that is where we need a 5-year plan and how we're going to work out making sure we're able to buy and replace equipment as we need, because that will impact your service. That's going to impact if you have a snow plow that doesn't break down. You're going to be out there plowing the snow for people so they can get to work. It affects quality of life. So that is what the council can directly do for you, is take a look at the funding mechanism, but also be responsible in planning.
Hello again.
Candidate
Sorry.
Nadine Jones.
So personally, with the services that I've experienced so far, I'm happy with the services that I have. And with the nonprofit, I work with the court and the police department, and I know their response times are very well, and then they do help within the community. So we work together. But I don't want to give false information because I'm not really aware of what's going on all the way in the city with what all the residents want and the current problems they've had with the city services. But if elected, I will be willing to work with the fellow council members and also get to know the residents more and find out exactly where you feel that we're lacking with our city services and what needs to be improved. And I assure you that I'll do my best to improve them.
Candidate Ray Muscat.
First of all, we need to start with a 5-day work week in this city. No excuses for people to stay home on a Friday. I don't like the idea of people telling me they're working and they work from home. That's not work. You come to work where the residents can see you and ask questions. That's first and foremost. Second of all, funding is a big part of it. And if you've been watching me at all, I've been questioning every penny that's spent, especially from the water department. We fix aerial trucks with water fund money. We can't possibly be doing this and then say we back charged the other funds to pay for water. This is ridiculous. This is the 21st century. We should be able to direct the money from the appropriate account, not say we'll do it later. We've spent a lot of money where it should not be spent. If we control that, which you've been hearing me say it for years and years, that's what I'll continue to do. Thank you.
Candidate Rose Trepepi.
As for the services right now, I think they're decent. They could be better, but also you have to have the money to get the equipment to make it better. You need more people to make it better and to do what you want. Everybody's going to have a problem, and some people will enjoy it. You're not going to make them all happy. Right now, I don't think we have the best, but I know we don't have the worst.
All right, the question is directed to candidate Ned Epigian first, and it is, what can the city do to attract and cultivate and establish small businesses?
I don't know if I have an answer as to what the city can do to attract small businesses. To think that there's something we can do to attract small businesses is a difficult question. All you have to do is look at Warren Avenue from Telegraph to Beach Daily and answer the question, why? I really don't know. Unless you give them 100% tax break and don't tax them on their profit, I have no idea what can be done. But you must understand this is a bedroom community. and the limitations of a bedroom community in terms of attracting certain kinds of businesses has limitations. It's a mind-boggling issue for me as to how we can stabilize our small. I watch them come and I watch them go as fast as they come and go. I don't know what the answer is.
Candidate Larry Henny.
Well, there isn't anyone that doesn't want a robust business community. And of course, I would encourage that. I think we need to have an ambiance of welcoming the businesses to our city. And in some cases, I think we have even limited competition, and we need to stop that. We need to start welcoming businesses to our community as long as they fit in with the city master plan and our ordinances, then we should welcome them. Thank you.
Oh, sorry. Candidate Stephen Henry.
Well, as one of the small businesses on Warren Avenue since 1981, I know firsthand what the problems and the difficulties are of staying in business in Dearborn Heights. And there are things we can do. One of the things we can do is establish business corridors, okay, and we can link them with green paths from, say, the south end to the north end, Beach Daily. That whole project, what would be a nice link, I think, and just an idea, would be put an art loft, which would attract people to that corridor, link the south end, the north end. We should also consider establishing downtown district authorities, and the state would then we could capture some of the tax revenue, and we could then support things like, what would it cost to have a farmer's market? Okay? A food truck or a truck rally or some events that connects, one in the south end, one in the north end, that get people stopping and saying, oh, I didn't know that business was there.
Candidate Lisa Hicks Clayton.
Hey, thank you. So I have served on a regional economic development team through Southeast Michigan Council of Government. So there's a lot of tools that are available to us, and I would love to see the city of Dearborn Heights utilize these tools, including branding your community. A lot of communities have gone to branding so it stands out and it's something that sticks with people. I think that's something that we could do. Also working with MEDC on the redevelopment ready community. I actually completed that certification and found it very informative. We talked about zoning, how you make it more friendly for businesses, but still maintaining, your neighborhoods the way you want them. Also, being business friendly means one-stop shopping. So you come in to set up a business in our community, you can go to one place to get your permits established for getting your business open, get your inspections scheduled, and also get your business license versus having to run around and try to do it over several days or weeks or months, because that delays opening a business. We want to welcome businesses to our community. And again, a good point is placemaking. How do you develop where people want to come? And that includes your talent.
Stop. Thank you. Candidate Nadine Jones.
All right, mine is very simple yet effective. What I would do personally is ask the residents what they want to see and what businesses we're lacking, and invite those businesses to come, and then just encourage our residents to support those businesses.
Candidate Ray Muscat.
Thank you, Nadine Jones. I'll have to say that, listening to the people. We recently even had an ordinance about hookah bars. We need to establish the type of businesses that we want, and not only just the type of businesses, but who's running the businesses. You see a business open, and then 6 months later it's closed, you got an empty building, no tax revenue. Building starts getting run down. We have to do our due diligence in watching who's going to be there, okay? And again, it's just like Mr. Apigian said, it's very difficult. To have people come, you're going to need investors, people with money that want to come in and redo either property. We also don't have a lot of vacant land in this city. We don't. We're not like Livonia, where a vast amount of land is available for somebody to come in and erect a large building.
Candidate Rose Trepepi.
We can attract all the businesses we want. But if we as employee or people of this city do not go to those businesses, they're not going to make it. And it's very hard to have a small business today. With you have these big companies and all these taken over, it's very hard. But I would try. I have tried on Van Born. I'm a part of the Van Born corridor, part of Tifa. We've done it on Beach Daily. We got businesses in there. Tried on Van Born. They're there maybe a year and they're gone. So we have to also support these small businesses when they come in there and see what do the people want us to have.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Candidate Dave Abdallah.
Well, I can answer that based on working with Century 21 as a real estate agent. I can tell you what a lot of people that open up small businesses and what they typically look for. Whenever you have, or I have a client looking for a business, the number one thing they look at, and let's just call it the way it is, they're looking to make sure that they're going to be able to make a profit. So therefore, if us as a city don't make it easier for them to be able to make a profit, and how do you do that? By going to those types of businesses. I mean, also the residents I'm talking about specifically. If, let's say, a bakery opens up, if a lot of residents start to use that particular business, they're going to do well, they're going to stay there. But then in addition to that, then you'll get a call, or the realtor will get a call for another person to open up a business right by that because they're seeing that the profits that's being made. In addition to that, it's got to be easier to be able to open in the city. City Hall's got to be much easier to be able to work with, to be able to open up this type of business, because you're not dealing with a corporation that's looking to open up. You're looking at mom and pop. So City Hall should be easier to work with. We need more walkable streets, and we need easy parking. In addition to that, we got to do a lot of marketing. With my background, as I mentioned, I graduated with a marketing degree from the University of Michigan.
Stop.
Thank you.
Thank you. This question is directed to Larry Henney first. Would you support increasing revenues in support of parks and recreation services? Why or why not?
That's a good question. First of all, I believe that there's enough revenue already being generated in order to support our parks. We have, to give you an example, we have just recently acquired Warren Valley Golf Course. That can be a money-making proposition. The Wayne County had not taken care of it very well, and right now there's a lot of things that can be done there to improve the golf course and actually make more money for the Parks and Recreation Department.
Thank you. Candidate Stephen Henry.
I don't think necessarily that the issue is so much how much money are we putting at the Parks and Recreation. I think maybe where our efforts are directed. I think the Richard A. Young Center is a beautiful senior center and a recreation center. I think Berwyn needs to have some upgrades. I think that there's some places that we may just need to update. I see the tennis court down there is pretty much not usable. Why don't we convert that into, say, a dog run or some open space where we can get our families out there, put some of the smaller parks where we can get some playscapes in there that's not that expensive. I understand, and I have spoken with some of the department heads. I went and interviewed them with their concerns. I get that the grass in the spring grows faster, and so it looks like it's not being maintained. I understand that, but I still think we can do a better job with some of the little pocket parks when we want to get kids outdoors and playing and not sitting in front of computers. We need to make it so.
Thank you. Candidate Lisa Hicks
All
Clayton.
right, thank you. What we're missing here is that in the last budget that we just recently approved, there actually was a decrease to Parks and Recreation Department. I fully support Parks and Recreation because I know how vital that service is to our community and to the wellness of our community. We need to be able to fund programs and support our senior services, which falls under Parks and Recreation, and all ages. There needs to be opportunities for recreation and think outside the box. One thing that I've done as a council member to address some of the concerns was to bring forward the opportunity for a DNR trust grant. We need to take a look at grant money, but the problem is our Parks and Recreation plan is a 5-year plan that has expired. And with that being said, it has to be reviewed and submitted to be even eligible for grants. So that needs to be really a button that we push as council members and advocate for, because without grant money, that is a challenge for us to maintain that important, vital service of recreation. So I fully support funding recreation opportunities because it attracts your families and keeps your families here, as well as important to our seniors.
Candidate Nadine Jones.
Yes, I do agree. As a student myself and as a youth mentor, I really feel it's important and vital for the youth to have services in our city. And also, if you want to be attractive to younger residents, younger families, or again, seniors, I think it is important. And also, as the gentleman down there stated, the dog park, have dogs myself, and I'm very envious of the Dearborn Dog Park, and that's something minute and small that can make a big difference in our city.
Candidate Ray Muscat.
I, along with Lisa Hicks Clayton, I agree with her on the revenue side. The budget was cut for recreation. We asked questions. It was because money wasn't used from previous years. To me, that's not an excuse to cut the budget. Just leave it there and let them use it. But we also have to get our grants. Lisa and I, and I'm going to mention her name because it's fact is fact, that we sat with even former Senator David Kniezek about trying to get money for the ball fields down in the south end behind the Richard Young Center. That just went away, and we don't know why it went away. There was a lot of money to capture, and it's really not up to just City Council to do this. This is the entire city organization, okay? They need to go out and find this money. The nice building that's being erected at the Canfield Center now at the Canfield Ice Arena, this is being done with private money.
Stop. Thank you. Candidate Rose Trepepi.
I believe we need to support the Parks and Rec Department very much. It will attract young people back to the city. People will buy homes if there's something for their kids to do. We have a new Parks and Rec director. He's a young man. He has fresh ideas. He might be able to turn this around because it hasn't done anything in the past few years. But we need to get these young people in here to do things to get our city going again.
Candidate Dave Abdallah.
Well, I can tell you firsthand that for a lot of new buyers in the area, one of the first things that they ask for when they're moving in from either out of state or out of area, one of the first things that they ask about is, again, the schools, the parks, and safety and city services. So definitely parks and recreation is very, very important. What we have to work on is provide better and newer services as far as the recreation department is concerned, because like it or not, the reality is for the newer generation, what we consider, at least with my age group, parks and recreation is totally different for the new age group because their parks and recreation is playing football or playing basketball or playing whatever on their computer. That is not parks and recreation. So we have to maybe change to the new style that a lot of the younger generation looks for. I met with the new parks and recreation director and I talked to him about what my vision is. I'd like to see a lot, the same old sports, of course. We keep some of the core ones there. We need a lot more newer sports to get more of the younger residents active. In addition to that, I fully support, of course, the senior centers, and I'm not in favor. I know at one point there was even talk of shutting them down. Not in favor of shutting them down. Thank you.
Candidate Ned Epigian.
The simple answer to this question is yes. The more important question is why. If this community is going to be occupied by septuagenarians and octogenarians, the future has to be with youth. Young families moving in. Young families moving in need recreation. That's how important it is. More importantly, you got a ridiculous school system in the city of Dearborn Heights. The laughingstock of the state of Michigan, you got 5 school districts. Dearborn Heights is half the size of Dearborn, and Dearborn has 1 school district and stole the best part of Dearborn Heights. So you want to attract young people, should be the question. You do that by having a first-class school system. That brings young people come because you have first-class recreation. Of course you spend the money you need for recreation.
All right, this will be our last question before we move on to closing statements, and it will be directed to Stephen Henry first. How will you prioritize the funding of city services for senior citizens?
Well, I think I mentioned it on my last comment. I think it looks like the Berwyn Center needs some improvements. It looks like it's dated. I think that we do need to find the funding to set aside to start upgrading that. And I think that that would probably be my primary concern would be to upgrading that facility more than at this particular time.
Oh, sorry.
Candidate
Candidate Lisa Hicks Clayton.
All right, thank you. Prioritizing funding for senior services. That does include building upgrades, making sure buildings are accessible and safe for our senior citizens. We've done some work on that, but there's more that needs to be done. These buildings need to be safe for people to come to. We have a responsibility to our seniors. You have worked your entire life to build this community. You deserve that. You deserve a safe, clean building. We should be funding that to make sure it gets done for you. Again, accessibility, as you get older, there are some challenges with mobility. We need to be mindful of that and being compliant with the Americans with Disability Act, and also offer you enriched programming. I know our Deputy Director, Kim Constant, and the staff at Eaton and Berwyn Senior Center have done a wonderful job with senior services and programming, but I think that's because also the residents that utilize those facilities, they are the backbone of those centers. And by working together, we should brainstorm on what you want to see and how do we get it done. And if that means developing, and we continue to develop community partnerships,
Thanks.
we do.
Thanks. Candidate Nadine Jones.
Would you mind to repeat the question again, please?
Yes. How will you prioritize the funding of city services for senior citizens?
Well, I agree with Ms. Lisa over here. So basically, it's important to hear from you all and hear from the residents. What do you all feel is lacking? What do you feel can be improved? And like with the ADA, actually there's a student that I go to school with now that's handicapped, and he's actually been working in Dearborn and Dearborn Heights trying to make sure that buildings are accessible and the elderly or disabled are able to utilize them.
Candidate Ray Muscat.
I've heard about the Berwyn Center twice now, but we forgot about the Eaton Center. Even though we don't own that building, it is a senior center, and that's in sad shape too. And we need to do something for that building as well. And we've come and visited the problems, the refrigerators, the tile on the floor, the kitchens, and we've tried to do our best to try to get that fixed through the maintenance department. Trying to help seniors is making sure that their garbage cans are being able to be pulled out on time, be put back in. Those are services that we can offer, but it seems like we're not publicizing it enough, okay? We need to, ADA requirements in this city have lacked for years, and with Lisa's help, it's come to the forefront quite a bit in the last 4 or 5 years that I know of. And I wish I was more astute on it like her, so I kind of take a back seat to her and
Stop.
follow.
Thank you. Candidate Rose Trepepi.
Prioritizing the Eaton Senior Center where I volunteer. It needs a lot of work, but the people are very happy. They come in, they participate very well. They need more. That we really need to listen to see what else they want there. Today, chair volleyball was very sparse, but they do a lot. They have a good time, and that's the priority. I want to see them, even if the building's a little shabby, as long as they're there having a good time, that's the main thing.
Thank you. Back to candidate Dave Abdullah.
Well, I believe personally that seniors are a very, very important sector of our community. We definitely got to do everything we can to try to provide more and more services to them. I can tell you, a lot of other communities, of course, have some centers for seniors. I think ours can be improved. I definitely see some upgrades that need to be done. And again, I'll go back to an initial answer I gave earlier with a different question where, I've consistently voted in favor of the senior centers being improved. I also believe that we should also work with some of the existing centers in the area that maybe are not necessarily city-owned. For example, Hype, the new Canfield Sports Complex with Mr. Mackey, and then in addition to that, for example, some of the different sports gyms and what have you in the area, for example, the one on Gully, etc., maybe do some sort of subleasing or coordination with them to help our seniors. Thank you.
Candidate Ned Apigian.
The question is, how would we prioritize? It would be top priority. That's the answer to the question. Now the question has to be answered again, why? Well, this is a senior citizen community, septuagenarians, octogenarians, and they all vote. So all of us are politicians. We're going to make sure they get everything they want and need because they vote. So that's the answer to that question. But the real answer is the community economic development budget that we get annually. We have to figure out ways how to get as much of that money out and using it on those buildings. That's a lot of money. That's over about $900,000 a year. And you just got to figure out how you could get it to the right use to fix the buildings in question. I'm not aware, I don't know what percentage we spend, whether it's less than our sister communities.
Candidate Larry Henry, or Henny, excuse me.
Have you folks seen the police station? It's state of the art. It's beautiful. And I'm all for having a strong police department and a vibrant police department, but we can't spend that kind of money on a police station and not be concerned about our seniors and our senior centers. When you compare the two, there's no comparison. We need to get serious about seniors. I'm a senior. There's several of us here that can sympathize with most of the seniors that are here today. We also need to look at transportation. If you can't get to the senior center, then having a senior center doesn't do any good. So we need to have as much transportation available for the seniors as possible. And we should expand the hours for the senior centers as well. Thank you.
It's now time for the candidates to make a 2-minute closing statement, and we will begin with candidate Lisa Hicks Clayton.
Great, thank you. Well, thank you, everyone. Again, I'm Lisa Hicks Clayton. I'm running for re-election for my 3rd term. I want to be really direct with you and tell you I'm a public servant. I'm a faithful servant. I get up every day and I start with prayer and devotion. And I ask, how can I serve my community? What can I do to improve quality of life for others? That is my focus when I get up and I serve. My full attention is on you, the community. How do we make things better for everybody? How do we attract new families? How do we make sure you have better services? How is recreation working out for you? Are we meeting your needs? How do we develop community partnerships that truly benefit everyone? Very inclusive. I welcome people. We work together. I mean, I am very honored to be your city councilwoman. I ask for your support for re-election. Primary is August 6th. I do appreciate everything that you do and know that I'm always available to you. Always available, always working for you. And that is really all I'm going to say about that. That's who I am.
Thank you. Candidate Nadine Jones.
Again, I'm Nadine Jones, and after working with my nonprofit and helping veterans the last 6 years, I just really want to be able to help our city on a greater scale. And I just feel with the current members right now, I just feel that government should be transparent, especially at our local level, because we all even live in this community. So if our community thrives, we thrive. I feel the government should be open and share information concerning issues and how they're being tackled, and there needs to be trust. By being open, we can work together and make our community better for all. If I do get elected, I will be open to listen and learn from not only my fellow council members, but from my fellow citizens as well. I'm one who believes that leaders should stand up for the citizens and ensure that everyone is treated fairly. I would love to see everyone working together. As leaders of our city, it is important for everyone to be on the same page to get things done. There seems to be a current disconnect. I'd like to help resolve that issue. I'm looking forward to working together with the council and to put the needs of all of our citizens first. And I just want to make the corner of my world a better place.
I began earlier today by saying I wear my pride on my shoulder, but along with that is my passion for the city. I believe it shows all the time. I've heard about the disconnect. I've heard about how city council, people are ashamed to look at the city council people. Why? Because we ask questions. And people don't like answering some of those questions. I will continue to ask those questions. Am I an angry person? You bet I am. When I sit there and I listen to some of the things that are given to us without answers, without proper paperwork, I get angry. I get angry when the citizens are treated poorly, when they don't get their services they say they do, when they call about a problem and they say it'll be taken care of and it's not taken care of. That's what gets me angry, okay? I started to doing this because I'm a resident. I pay the same thing you all pay for, and I want it for myself and my family. I remember this city, what it looked like 50 years ago, 40 years ago, 30 years ago, 20 years ago. And it's not getting any better, folks, okay? It's not. I'm here to try to make it better. I've been always one that tells people, hey, have pride where you live. Cut your grass, sweep up underneath the curb, do something. You know, if you have weeds, okay, but keep them cut. I'm not asking somebody to do something I wouldn't do myself, okay? And I just want transparency. I want someone to tell me the truth, what's going on. You know, sometimes they act like you're asking for the blueprints for the next nuclear-powered attack submarine or something. It's not that difficult to get the proper answers, okay? And I'm not going to ask for your vote. You all know who I am, what I stand for. You make up that decision yourself.
Candidate Rose Trepepi.
Well, I want to thank everyone for being here tonight. And want to tell you, the reason I am running is to stop this flooding. Whether it's in the north side of the city or the south side, it's flooding in both areas, and it needs to be corrected and worked on. I also do not like the finger pointing. I was in Florida in February, and some guy came running up, and he said, "What's going on in Dearborn Heights? All this confusion, this is being sued." And I kind of looked, I said, "I really don't know." And they said, "Well, you know, I live in Detroit." I was almost embarrassed to tell them I lived in Dearborn Heights for all the crap that was going on. And it's not stopping. We need to be together on the same page, working on the same issues, not fighting each other, pointing our fingers and patting our backs, because it's not what it's about. But we need to help these people that are in dire need of getting their homes repaired from flooding. Some people have water up to the top of the ceiling of the basement, and I just think that is horrible. That's what I'm going to do. Whether I get elected or not, I want to stop that flooding.
Candidate Dave Abdullah.
Well, I'm not looking to get elected as a politician. I'm looking to get reelected again as a public servant. I love serving this community. This is a community I've lived in the city of Dearborn Heights for over 20 years. I've lived in the area for a good 40-some, 44, whatever years. I love this particular community. I love the people that live in it. All my family lives here. I, as a realtor, had the choice, obviously, of moving into any area I would have wanted, but chose this particular community because I believe in this particular community. I also want to serve because of one of the families on Evangeline, and that would be my parents. My dad, his love for this country is unbelievable. I mean, he's got probably about 20 flags all over the house, United States American flags. And that's why I love to serve this community, because it makes him happy. He's happy that I'm serving this community. My mom's not happy because she says you don't need all this stress. But you know how mothers are, they're always going to be protective. I also believe that, you know, as a community and as a city, we need to have the two bodies of our government working together better. I believe there's not been enough agreeing to disagree. I always listen to other people's opinions. I'm always open-minded about other people's opinions and other council members' opinions. I just wish that there would be a little bit less tension in the council meetings. Everybody can give their opinion, but again, I just wish there was a little bit less arguing. In addition to that, I want to continue to work on the safety of the residents. I want to continue to work on city services. I want to continue to work on improving the parks. I also want to continue to work on senior projects, because I believe this is a very, very important factor in our particular community. I've served in this particular community for, you know, as far as either politics or different organizations or community organizations for over 30 years, and will continue to do so, and it would be my honor to serve this great city again. Thank you.
Candidate Ned Abajian.
Again, thank you very much for this opportunity to meet the voters. I would like to remind our listeners to read the questions and answers, the leaks questionnaires to the candidates on their guide and on the internet. I understand they have no guide this year. I am sure every question presented here covered the issues It did not cover all the issues presented to us in written form. Certainly did not. Secondly, please research the questions and answers presented to us as candidates by the press and guide for the same reasons of brevity. Thirdly, please read carefully the printed material mailed to you for the content or lack of any useful information about the other candidates that qualifies them with the insight and solutions to the problems we face as a city. Not every issue was covered today due to time limitations. Candidates that tell you nothing or don't show you anything don't deserve your vote. I want to point out a very important issue as to many ideas that unfortunately may have come up in this meeting. There are many justified complaints I can make, and others have and will be made in the future. They are due to the limitations of the city charter. The charter, as presently constituted, gives the administration or the mayor most of the power by design. Roughly, mayor's power might be 75%, the council's 25%. It's like playing marbles. He has most of the marbles, and they're bigger than ours, and he has more of them. We need a charter change that will correct a 50-year-old document. It's time, it's consuming, and it's expensive.
Candidate Larry Henny.
The truth of the matter is that the current council and mayor are too divided. We need a change. We need to bring back common sense. I will always conduct myself in a civil and professional manner. I will be accessible to all residents. I will listen, learn, and represent. I will work with you to address your issues and concerns, and I will create a culture of fiscal responsibility, transparency, and accountability. Do you know that regardless of the outcome of the election, that the mayor and most of the current council will be there for at least another 2.5 years? I don't agree with some of the people in our government, but I will work with them and get the job done. If you're satisfied with the results of our current council and administration, you should vote to retain the incumbents. If you're embarrassed like I am and want to see our city move forward, then vote for me. My background in solving problems makes me the best choice for Dearborn Heights City Council. I can bring this together. I can get this done.
And candidate Stephen Henry.
I want to thank everybody for being here tonight, taking the time out of their afternoon to share this time with us. And I also wanted to point out that I'm not a politician, okay? I'm a resident, I'm a father, I'm a businessman. 2 years ago, I retired from coaching football because my wife asked me to spend more time in the afternoon at the office so she could be with her grandchildren. Unfortunately, she passed away, and it left me with a void for an afternoon. And I decided, after watching some of the city council meetings, that all of the divisiveness, all of the disharmony needed to be corrected, or at least we could try. I spent my life building teams and working with teams, and I think that I can benefit the city to that end. I think that there's always reason to have discussion, but the discussion doesn't have to get personal. It doesn't have to berate people. It doesn't have to say something bad about them. It's okay. We'll discuss things until we get it solved. One of the things that my 4 daughters, when I sat down to ask them what would they think if I were going to run for city council, and I said, I think we need a mission statement. And they came back the next day, and their mission statement was a quote from Eleanor Roosevelt. Ironically, in a house full of women, Eleanor Roosevelt's probably going to win the day. Her quote was that great minds discuss ideas, average minds discuss events, and small minds discuss people. So what we need to do is stop being small-minded and average-minded. We need to start being above that. We need to have great minds. We need to solve, this isn't a bad city. This is a beautiful community. We just need to put it together, put our resources, and make sure that we can work as one team, make it a better place to live. It's not that hard. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all for being here. Can you hold your applause, please? Can you hold your applause? Thank you all for being here. If you have further questions for any candidate, we encourage you to contact them directly. Contact information for each candidate can be found at vote411.org. The polls will be open on Tuesday, August 6th from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Absentee ballots are available from the city clerk's office, and you can get one for any reason. Do not forget to vote. Lastly, candidates, we appreciate the commitment it takes to run for office, and we would like to thank you for participating in this forum. The forum has ended. Thank you.
I want to make sure everyone knows on the way out.